Hey everyone, Mike Wolf here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Entrepreneurs Making a Difference, where we connect entrepreneurs from all over the world so they can collaborate and do amazing things together. And, speaking of all over the world, my guest today, Jody Temple-White, she pulled her kids out of school and traveled around the world and did a whole bunch of giving back projects along the way. And I can really relate to that because I pulled my daughter out of school at a young age in grade 2, and we traveled around the world. We didn't do give back projects, so when I heard what Jody was doing, it really inspired me. So I'm just going to read the bio of what she's up to. So she's creating what's called the Courage Vibe, which is to be a global catalyst to awaken individual and family courage and inspire people and themselves to live brave, give big, and have fun in an era of chronic boredom, stifling conformity, and shrinking optimism, also known as the rut. So welcome to the show, Jody. It's good to have you here.
Thanks. It's great to be here. So glad to be involved in this.
Oh, well, you were when I was coming up with the idea for this program, you were one of the first people that popped in my mind that I had to have on this show. So I'm so glad that you can make it today.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So tell me, what inspired you to pull your children out of school? And I know for me, I don't know if you had the same situation. For me, I had a lot of challenge with my parents, for example. They thought I was ruining my daughter's life by pulling her out of grade 2 and traveling. Did you put up with some of that sort of stuff from some of your friends and family when you first decided to? And what inspired you to do it in the first place?
Okay, so yes, we had the pushback, is what we call it. The pushback, the fear from other people who told us, what if this happens? And our kids were 16 and 11 at the time. So my son was missing his junior year in high school. My daughter was missing her 5th grade year. So yes, there was all kinds of stories about how I didn't really hear that we were going to ruin their life, but the what ifs. What if he doesn't graduate? What if they lose, education and all that, and all the work we're going to have to do when we get back? We heard that, and we took it in, and we decided that, it was well worth the risk, and actually the opposite happened on that, so I can talk about that later. But where did it start? So about 15 years ago, I was on a plane. I was doing national conferences for an event company that I was one of the co-founders of. And one of our speakers told me, and kind of, as you're on a plane, you're talking about everything. And she told me about in the 70s when she and her husband went around the world with their 2 kids, sold everything, and basically had just the time of their life. And that was in the 70s, before TripAdvisor, before you could get online and book things. So they literally just left, not knowing where they were going to go either. And at that point, the seed was planted for me. And Riley was 2 at the time. And I remember thinking, I am going to do that someday. And I told John about it. And then over the years, we just kept talking about it. We were like, well, what if? What if we just sold everything and took off? What would happen? And we would laugh and say, oh, it wouldn't happen. And then the what ifs turned to, why not? Why couldn't we go? What's stopping us? So what was stopping us was actually Riley, my now 17-year-old son, who didn't want to leave his friends. But he went through his own metamorphosis and decided that, in fact, he was willing to take a year away from his friends and away from all the activities and take a trip around the world. And so once he said yes, Allison was already in. Once he said yes, then John and I went, all right, how are we going to make it happen? We need to do it now because we can't wait. So we all took the leap, and it was an amazing leap.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And did you find, I found with my daughter, despite my parents telling me that I was ruining her life, I found she came back so far ahead. I mean, I would not hesitate for anybody who's thinking of doing something crazy like what we've done. I would not hesitate to recommend you do it, no matter what people tell you. So, what was your experience? How'd your kids come back?
Oh, kids came back completely different in so many ways, good ways that I couldn't ever have imagined. So. The way we did schooling is my son did online schooling where he could take the classes at his own pace, and then when he got back to the States, he proctored the exams and passed the classes. So he learned for himself how to stay focused, how to stay organized. So on the schooling side, he didn't slide at all. In fact, he catapulted ahead. He found books that he liked to read, started reading Jack Kerouac, Alan Watts, some really forward-thinking, the Dalai Lama books. I mean, he was just devouring them, which I had never seen him do before. My daughter, who is in 5th grade, she didn't slide at all either. In fact, she came back ahead of where she normal her peers on all of the state testing. So on the academic side, nothing was lost. But the growth and maturity side, that was like, I just still get goosebumps when I think about them, because they learned to interact and communicate with not just us as their parents in a new way, but with people they met. So we stayed in hostels, we volunteered, we stayed in homes of people that invited us. They met us on the road and they said, do you want to stay with us? So they learned cultural things, but they also learned how to be and what they wanted to be as adults and kids. And so it's remarkable. Comparing, it's not that they, how do you say this in a way, they just came back way more aware of what they want in life and what they're willing to do to get it. And that's, I think, a beautiful thing for now 12 and 17-year-old to know this early in life. And it's affected their choices that they've made since they've come back in a good way. Uh-oh, Mike.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was having a microphone issue for a second. I was gonna say I could totally relate to that. And not only did my daughter come back a different person, I know myself. I was married at the time, and I can say for both my ex-wife and I, we both came back very different people too. And when I left, I don't know. I guess I was very materialistic. All the things that were important to me were usually material things. When I came back, I didn't really, and I know I had a very similar experience to you, where I gave away a lot of my stuff, put it in storage. When I came back, I didn't really want that anymore. Did you find the same thing?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So we did. We gave away a lot of our stuff. We read the Bob Proctor book, You Were Born Rich, and in the last chapter, he talks about if you want to make room for something in your life, you have to give, you have to make room for it. And so he said something about, so get rid of your furniture if you want new stuff. And then his caveat was that, and you need to give it away so the energy keeps going. So we did that. We just said, all right, let's just give it away. And so we kept what was valuable, what we felt, we wanted to keep, and the rest we just let go. And it was so nice. And then you spend 9 months living out of a backpack, and it's a freeing experience. And so when we got home, we decided to move into a smaller condo with just limited stuff. We live the stuff we have is stuff that's meaningful to us, that has memory, that we can, look at. Like I'm looking at a picture of us on Machu Picchu hanging on the wall. Those kind of things that bring back that feeling that we had on the trip. So yeah, we've absolutely changed. We do not need as much space. We find that we're just as content with less stuff and smaller space for all of us. So.
Wow, yeah, it's phenomenal how much you can change from going through that sort of experience. And one of the things that you did that I, in hindsight, wish I had done. I didn't have maybe the right mindset back then, but you did. Everywhere you went, it was all about giving back, and the different places you went to. And I was lucky enough to have been able to see some of your videos chronicling your trip. And I remember there was something in some stuff in Thailand. Maybe discuss that a little bit for the audience.
Yeah, so we're a family of doers. We're action takers, and so as we were talking about the trip and what we wanted the trip to be, we didn't want it to be a perpetual vacation, the kind where you're constantly running from tourist activity to tourist activity. First of all, it's expensive, and ours was a low-budget, high-adventure trip. So as we were talking about what we wanted to do and fill our time with, we found a book about volunteering, about doing different volunteer projects. And so we checked the book out of the library, and we all went through it and picked different things, and that spurred our idea of what if we just went to some of these, wherever we landed, we asked where can we help and what can we do. So in Thailand, we worked at an elephant village for a week, and that was, that was a dream, obviously. We lived with the mahouts, which are the elephant keepers in Thailand. And every morning we'd get up and we'd go cut sugar cane, and we'd cut the banana trees and fight the fire ants because they love the sugar cane as well. And we'd feed them, we'd walk the elephants every day, and every afternoon we'd walk them to the river and get to swim with them. And then the village that we stayed in, or the house we stayed in, actually had just had a one-month-old baby elephant. like
Oh.
literally in our backyard. And she was still trying to learn to walk. She was very playful. And it was just so much fun to just be that up close and learn about these animals and learn about what's really going on with the animals in Thailand. And our job was to help the mahouts and to get to know the mahouts. And we also volunteered at a local school, taught some English, which was very fun. So wherever we could help, we just did. We just said, okay, let's do it. We didn't say no. We just, all four of us said, any opportunity we have to say yes, we're going to say yes, and we did. And what came from that was just amazing, just amazing.
Yeah.
The people we met, the way we changed, the way we were able to give back, it was just, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. And plan to, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's phenomenal, because now you got me all excited. I'm like thinking, after this interview, I'm heading to the airport and I'm out of here. So,
well, you know, it was just a matter of just asking. And, you know, that's the thing. A lot of people think about when they have to do volunteer stuff. I mean, the elephant one was a little bit pre-planned. Most of our activities weren't pre-planned. We would literally land in the city. We'd look at the boards at the hostels or where we were staying, or we'd talk to locals and say, what do you need help with? Where can we go? And most of the time, we would be directed right to the place we were supposed to be. And it was amazing. And if we couldn't find anything, we picked up garbage. We went to beaches and picked up trash, because that is a perpetual problem all over the world. And so we would just take time and so if we couldn't find anything that was dealing one-on-one with animals or kids or anything, we just found stuff to do. And that little bit, it just makes a big difference. It makes a big difference for the whole world. And it's contagious. That's kind of giving back. It's contagious, because other people go, oh, well, I could do that. And that's the truth. That's what we want to spur on.
yeah, that's phenomenal. I love that. I love the whole attitude of we'll just find something to do to make a difference as we go. We'll just find it.
Yes, and people are really grateful. I mean, we came across some amazing opportunities when we just said, okay, we're open to anything. We shoveled poop. We cleaned condor cages. We just, it was funny. Sometimes we would just kind of pinch ourselves and laugh and go, how in the world did we get ourselves here? But, we just did it, and boy, the memories for that. And, and Riley's now planning on taking a gap year this year after he graduates and head back down to South America and do some more volunteering and kind of keep that same pattern going, work at hostels. He wants to busk a little bit, which is play the guitar and put the thing out to his case out for money. So he thinks that would be fun. But yeah, he's just got
people
that.
pay me not to play. People pay me to stop playing. So
yeah. So he's continuing that, and we are, and John and Allie and I are going to look for ways to do that as well. So we're pretty excited about what's coming down the chute for the Courage Vibe and for us, because it's definitely addictive.
Yeah, very cool. So what would you say were your biggest learning experience? What were your biggest takeaways from your travels for those 9 months?
The biggest takeaways, one is just say yes. I mentioned that earlier. That was such a big thing. So the first one would be just to leap and say yes. If you're given an opportunity, even if you don't know what the outcome's going to be, just say yes to it, because in that process, things will unfold that you never anticipated. And so that would be the first thing, is just we all say yes way more often than we say no. The other thing is to believe that you will manifest things. We call them magic and miracles on our trip. There were times that we didn't really always book ahead like hostels and in fact, a lot of times we didn't have an itinerary, so we just bought tickets as we went. So we would talk to people, and they would say, oh, you should go over to this place. And so then we'd go, oh, okay. So that's where we would go to the next one, or if it sounded cool. So we didn't always know where we were going to go. It was very spontaneous. And like I remember one time when we were in Morocco, we were going from Tangier over to Fez. And I said to the kids, and said to John and the kids, I said, okay, so we don't have a place to stay tonight when we get to Fez, but we're getting in early enough that we'll have time to, walk through the Medina and figure it out. And they're like, oh, okay. And I said, but, here's the thing. If we meet somebody on the way, don't be afraid to talk with them, and maybe they can help us. And they were like, so we all kind of put that in our mission, are like, okay, so we're going to be open to meeting people. Well, we get on the train, and in Morocco you can buy these little 6-seat kind of coach areas. So we got on, and the 4 of us took our seat. Next thing we know, a gal from France pops in our little cubby, and then this gentleman sits down, and he's quiet, and he's just kind of listening to us all chat. The 5 of us now. Lise was there, and all of a sudden he says, "So do you guys have a place to stay in Fez?"
Mm-hmm.
And we were like,
Love that.
"No, actually we don't." And he's like, "Well, you know, have you ever been to Fez? You know what we're doing?" I said, "No, we don't." He goes, "Well, I'm from Fez, and I'm going home. My whole family lives there, and I know my aunt has a nice little riad right in the Medina, and would you like me to check to see if she has room available?" So, long story short, he ended up becoming a great friend. He not only got us a place to stay, which was in our budget, but his uncle met us at the train station, hauled us all to the riad. He walked us in. We spent the whole weekend with him and his family, got private tours around Fez, got great, incredible local food that we never would have found, and it was all because we just said, all right, we're going to manifest, and we're going to be open for the magic and miracles that happen. And, you know, those magic and miracles happen all the time. It's just recognizing them. It's just truly just saying, all right, what's going to happen today? And I'm waiting for it, and the good always came.
Yeah, I love that, and I can relate to it. I just, you know, you find, you know, people who watch the media a lot, they watch a lot of TV, they're always fearful. Oh, well, you know, I can't, you know, if I don't have everything all pre-planned, all this bad stuff's going to happen to me. And you have this view of the world that the whole world's out to get you, and it's such a dangerous place. And the more I travel, and I'm sure you found this too, the more you travel, the more you find that, I don't want to say random events, but it's almost like, you know, the right people seem to always pop into your life at the right time, and just that's what I found for myself, and that's why I love traveling so much. That's why it's so addictive for me, because a lot of things I couldn't even plan for always happen when I'm out of my comfort zone.
Totally, and that's such a true statement. Yes, when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're leaping and you're out of your comfort zone, that's when things happen that blow your mind, that are just incredible. So I couldn't agree more.
Well, I'm glad it's not just me, because I thought sometimes I think I'm just weird or crazy, but I'm glad other people have the same experiences.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is the courage vibe? What's that all about?
So the Courage Vibe was started originally kind of as a blog site, because we got a lot of people asking us where we're going, what we're doing. They wanted to follow us on the journey. And so now that we're back, we kind of have looked at that and went, okay, so what is it that we want the Courage Vibe to be? And what we've found is that since we've been back, we get a lot of questions about, how can I do something like this? Or how did you get the courage to do this? All 4 of us get asked that question. And, you know, really, and we hear the, I wish I could do it, or I've always thought about doing it, but I never knew I could. And so we thought, you know, what a great opportunity for us to build a tribe of big-hearted, action-taking families and individuals who are looking to stay out of life's ruts. So our life wasn't terrible when we decided to go on the trip. It wasn't like we were running away from a lot of stuff. We weren't. It was just that we had gotten into this mundane kind of existence. There were the highs and the lows, but we just were like, something needs to change, because we just didn't want to keep going at that point. So I know that there's families and individuals out there who just, it's not that their lives are bad, but they just need that extra little spark, or that extra little, how can we make sure we stay out of the ruts? And so we've created the Courage Vibe now, kind of redesigned it and working on it, where we're going to provide opportunities, adventures, trips for people to go on for volunteering with their family, because I really see that what happened with our family and how we learned to communicate, we learned to respect each other, we learned all kinds of things by being in that, as you say, outside your comfort zone, being in that outside the comfort zone together. What it did is it expanded each of us individually, but brought our family closer together. And that's what I really would love to see happen with families across the world, actually, is to say, you know, it's not about the TV, it's not about the games and the iPads, and it's really about learning to communicate on a level that works for everybody. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to be creating opportunities, trips, providing resources for families and individuals. If you don't have a family, totally fine. There's enough people to go around. We can create one because a lot of families are created. Maybe you're not born into them. You create them with the people and the friends around you. But we just want to keep spurring on that piece of let's keep leaping, because when we all leap, things happen that are amazing. And so it's not just about our story. We're going to be launching other ways to tell stories for other folks who've leapt, both young and old, and kind of what they've had happen to them, what advice they give. So it's really going to be a tribe and a community of people that keep inspiring each other to keep reaching and staying outside our comfort zone and watch what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you see the Courage Vibe in 5 years, 10 years from now? What would you like to see that evolve into?
Definitely lots of experiences internationally. So trips where we're either taking families or parents or women or however. So definitely travel is without a doubt a piece of that. I'd also like it to be, we're also seeing it as a way to bring people together, just to say kind of a think tank of what can we do? What can we do to live brave, give big, and have a lot of fun in it? Because the having fun piece is really a part of it. Our trip, we had a lot of fun. And that's so critical for the other pieces, right? So really developing that community, getting lots of input from all around the world about what's working for families and people to help them stay out of the rut. So really just a vibrant, excited community that just keeps making a difference. I would love to watch organizations get funded and get their sponsorship happening. Groups like in Cusco, Peru, with Laura and Corazon Del Dalia we volunteered for. She has an after-school program where she brings kids in, and because these kids, the parents are in town selling the wares, and the kids have no electricity, no running water, and so she's just opened up a space and said, this is, all kids are welcome. I would love to go back and say, okay, what do you need? Let's get feet on the ground. Let's get money in the door for you to create a space for more kids, because she's running out of space. So if we could fund stuff like that and just have a ball doing it, I have goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps too. I think that's a great idea. I think that's really cool. So I'm sure you will make this all happen. I have no doubt in my mind that you will bring this Courage Vibe to where you want it to be. Now, I mentioned I saw some of the video footage of your trip. Did you have a camera crew with you the entire time, or was that just for parts of the trip, or how did that work?
So the documentary is what you're referring to. It's called Living the Courage Vibe. We were approached right before we took the trip, actually August before we took the trip. We left in November. And this production crew came up and said, we heard your story. We love the idea of volunteering. Would you be willing to let us film it? And, again, us practicing saying yes and not knowing where that was going to take us, we said, yeah, sure, you want to show up? Show up. So they met us in 5 different locations around the world and filmed us doing service work and talking about kind of what it meant to us and what we did. And so they're in the process of producing that now and looking for the final bit of funding to make it happen. So yeah, they met us, and very informal filming. We're not. One of my things was just don't make us look like the Kardashians.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not the reality TV like that. It's very real in the fact that we weren't mic'd. They just followed us. You see us getting dirty. You see us laughing. Riley doing backflips down the desert in the Sahara, down the big sand dunes, and it was fun having them along. But the whole goal of that is really to show people that they can do what they want. I mean, we can, anything's possible. And you don't have to take a trip like we did, but there's ways that you can give back and help, and it's all really about service and what can we do kind of to make this world a better place, just like you're doing, Mike, entrepreneurs making a difference. What can we all do to make it better?
There you go. Well, we have a lot in common, both with our travel and pulling kids out of school and dealing with the challenges of other people, not necessarily sharing our visions, but also I love the fact that your documentary wasn't, it was obvious it wasn't staged, it was real life, and I love that. And my show clearly is not professional. I don't even know what I have. Anyway, this is just I hope this never does become something that's overdone and professional and polished. That takes the fun out of it, and I love what you've done. I think it's just amazing, and I'm looking forward to following you as you do some adventures in the future. I'm sure you're not done with your adventuring. So we're unfortunately running out of time here, but what would be your one message you'd want to share with the world, with our viewers right now?
So I'm really big into leaping, and obviously our family took the leap, and I've said it a few times. And there's a quote that we have hanging on our wall, and really we didn't realize that it was kind of our mantra as a family, but it's by Marianne Radmacher, and it says, "The jump is so frightening between where I am and where I want to be, but because of all I may become, I will close my eyes and leap." And that sums up really a lot of our life and a lot about this trip. We knew we were to become something better, something different than what we were. So we closed our eyes and we leapt. And then in truth, what I've learned is that when you take those kind of leaps, you're never leaping alone. You are never leaping alone. So if you are contemplating a leap, if you're in the middle of a leap, if you are coming in for a landing on the leap, just know that you're not alone. People have done it before you. People are doing it with you. You just need to take the leap, because what you're going to become is something better than you ever dreamed of. So just do it, and you're not alone.
Wow, that was very inspiring, and thank you for sharing that with us. I love that. What is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
Well, the website is great. The website is at thecouragevibe.com, and on that you can read about our story. You can contact us through the Connect page. You can email us that way. We're doing speaking events. We're getting asked more and more to kind of share our story, both individually and as a family. So if anybody's wanting to hear our story firsthand, we infuse it with lots of stories, and because we have lots of them. And so that would be great. The website's probably the best way. There's a little opt-in, little option for you if you want to keep in the know about what's happening when we launch our trips and when we launch kind of new products and resources. Just put your name and email in there. We don't bombard you with emails. We just send things when we believe that it's going to be inspiring or helpful to the audience. So that's it, and that would be great. So it's thecouragevibe.com, and you can also watch the trailer that Mike was referring to on the website as well. Scroll down to the bottom. I think it's in the footer part. You can watch the 4-minute trailer. Get a little tip on see the rest of the family.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here today, Jody. You're definitely a big inspiration, and not just on me, because now you got me wanting to go to the airport, like I said, but also I'm sure on the viewers, and a lot of great takeaways. I think so. A lot of people, they do have that fear, and the best stuff happens when you face that fear and you just go take the leap.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I always love talking with you. You're always inspiring to me. So when I'm done talking with you, I always feel better too. And trust me, I would love to go hop on a plane and get to the airport, but we have some graduation stuff to go through. So soon.
Yeah, I'm going through that too. So we always have stuff in common. Our lives are running parallel, because my daughter's graduating from high school this week, actually.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, our lives are running parallel, because Riley graduates next week, and yeah, so it's fun. It's a good place, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So, but I'm looking forward to getting on the plane and seeing what else we can do. So it'll be fun. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and we will definitely have you on here again. And I'm coming to Portland to visit you sometime next month. So we'll do some masterminding and figure out some really cool things.
Awesome. I'd love that. So thank you.
Well, thanks again, Jody, and thank you, the viewers, for tuning in to another episode of Entrepreneurs Making a Difference. I'm Mike Wolf, and I look forward to seeing you soon.